All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makar Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson going into how Esau is always trying to seek to try and destroy the Israelites, man, or how he's always trying to stop us from succeeding in some kind of way. And this is a video I saw here from Dante's Boxing Nation. Right, and it's got on the left hand side of this picture, it's got Canelo Alvarez trainer, who is an Israelite, right? And I forget his name, like something Rosado or something like that, I believe. But he's the trainer of the boxer Canelo Alvarez, who's also an Israelite. Although Esau is trying to claim him as an Edomite because he looks similar. He's got the ginger hair, so they want to try and claim him. The same thing like what they do with Conor McGregor and Tyson Fury. Any so-called white man that ever has any talent, that's really an Israelite. These Edomites like to try and claim him and pretend as though he's an Edomite. But then when they show some kind of when they start being under the curses because they're Israelites, then you see that Esau really hates them, man. But they try and blend in because they want to try and fit in with who the power is with a lot of the time. But that's not the point of this lesson, man. I'm just gonna play this. I'm gonna try and find this particular point in this video, but first I want to read this scripture here. This is Psalm chapter 62 and verse 4. It says, "They only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly." So I'm gonna play this video.
And the roles were reversed. What would you guys say? Which is the reason in boxing right now is the best fighter in the world of all time. Since the beginning, this interview was conducted by Barbershop Conversations. Check out Top Ranks Matchmaker. Feel that way.
So like I'm gonna play it from here.
Leave you guys with this MBF clip. This is promoter and boxing manager Cameron Duncan talking about Top Ranks Matchmaker and how Top Rank taught him how to promote his boxers. This interview was conducted by Barbershop.
So I'm gonna play it again, but just for people that don't know about boxing, Top Rank is basically a boxing company that promotes certain fighters, and it's ran by, I forget the guy's name now, man. I forget the man's name, but once upon a time, Floyd Mayweather was promoted by this particular company, but he bought himself out of a contract. He bought his contract out from this company for like almost $1 million, and then after that he started promoting himself and then created that whole Money Mayweather, Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather image, that type of thing that he came up with, that started making his career go big. So I'm going to skip back a bit and then I'm going to play this again. Salakia.
Talking about Top Ranks Matchmaking. Feel that way. I'm going to leave you guys with this MBF clip. This is promoter and boxing manager Cameron Duncan talking about Top Ranks Matchmaker and how Top Rank taught him how to promote his boxers. This interview was conducted by Barbershop Conversations. Check it out, guys.
Ask Cameron Duncan, do Top Rank have like columns of fighters? And they say, we don't want this guy fighting the black fighter, we don't want this fighter fighting the Mexican fighter, and so on and so forth.
Now the reason why they do that is because they know that the Mexican fighters are Israelites, and they know that the so-called black fighters, as they would call them, and the so-called Mexican fighters are Israelites, man. And I watch boxing, and what I've started noticing is a lot of these prospects that are Edomites, especially over here in the UK, they've been getting beat up, man, by a lot of the northern tribe Israelites, man. A lot of the so-called Latino tribes, they've been getting a lot of them have been getting their unbeaten records taken by Israelites that supposedly wasn't even good enough to win, to the point where these particular Israelites didn't even know how to speak English, so they didn't even prepare a translator for that fighter in case they did win, man. And then they've been causing upsets and beating up these Edomite fighters that they was trying to bring through and promote and show favoritism to try and promote, to build Esau's pride up, because they know that Esau has got more disposable income to try and get more, to try and make more money, man. All right, Esau's the main person that they always promote all of these things to, because they know that Esau is the main one that's going to pay, because he's just naturally got more disposable income, because this is his world right now. I'm going to go back and skip 10 seconds back so that you can hear, because I spoke over it, so lucky.
Shop conversations. Check it out, guys.
Ask Cameron Duncan, do Top Rank have like columns of fighters? And they say, we don't want this guy fighting the black fighter, we don't want this fighter fighting the Mexican fighter, and so on and so forth.
You're going to get into the racial stuff, huh?
No, I'm not. I'm asking.
That's a theory there by the greatest matchmaker, probably, in my opinion, ever.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not going to mention his name either, but you know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
And he used to have a thing up on his board, NBF, no black fighters. And when I was talking...
Just in case you didn't hear what he said, they said he used to have something on his board that said NBF, which stood for no black fighters, right? Which really is no Israelites, man. So when they was trying to build up a fighter's reputation, right, and they wanted to make a fighter have some prestige about him and wanted to build him up as if he's some kind of high level fighter, they'd make sure that he doesn't fight any, as they would call it, black fighters, but really we know that means Israelites, man. And obviously I'm sure that they had Latino tribes in there as well, right? There's so-called no Mexican fighters probably they had on there too, man, because they knew and they understood that would be the cause of that fighter losing and getting his whole reputation taken away, and therefore their money taken away, man. Because what they always want to try and do, there's such a thing in boxing called the Great White Hope, man. The Great so-called White Hope. There's such a thing in boxing as that, by where they try and always find a Caucasian fighter to make all these Edomites have pride in themselves again. And right now, the person that they're trying to use is Tyson Fury. But what they don't realize is that Tyson Fury is an Israelite anyway, man. You can tell Tyson Fury is an Israelite because when he first came in with his career, he was always mentioning God, man. He was always mentioning the Bible. And he was speaking righteousness and was rebuking the wicked things that happens in this society. But now, gradually, after he's seen how wicked his world is, he's not prepared to take it there as much as he used to talk about certain things, because he knows that they'll just try and silence him, and he's obviously trying to become rich and become glorified in this society to some certain degree. So he's not prepared to say certain things that brothers that are believing in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and know what it is are prepared to say. But I'm going to carry on playing this anyway.
To bring up a fighter, and again, it's just, he used to say to me, you can go anywhere in the country, and I'm going to leave it at this. I don't want to go into a long discussion, because people are people in God's eyes, and we're all the same.
He just said we're all people in God's eyes and we're all the same. And now I'm just going to have to quickly read this, because that's something that people like to say, right? But it's not true, and people know it's not true, right? I'm not 7 foot tall. I'm not the same as somebody that's 7 foot tall, right? I'm not built like Mr. Olympia, so I'm not the same as somebody that's built like Mr. Olympia. I don't have the same faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua as what another man will have, right? So I'm not the same as the other man. We're not the same, man. There's no same. There's no equal in anything. There's no equal. Yahushua is the best Israelite that there is and ever will be. Yahweh is the Most High. There's nothing equal with him. There's nothing equal with Yahushua. There's no such thing as equal or fair, if you want to put it that way. There's not. Some things are better than others, and some things are worse than others. This is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Yahweh thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So there's no such thing as people being the same. Yahweh's chosen us to be a special people unto himself, above all people on the face of the earth. And that's why you've got these Israelites that are clearly showing that they're better than other people. And I'm going to try and not cut out what's being said now. Right, and I'm lining up the next scripture that I'm going to read after he makes this statement that he makes here. And I'm going to skip back 10 seconds again so that you can hear what he said without me chopping it, like making my statements, man. So look here.
He used to say to me, you can go anywhere, and I'm going to leave it at this. I don't want to go into a long discussion, because people are people. And again, it's just, he used to say to me, you can go anywhere in the country, and I'm going to leave it at this. I don't want to go into a long discussion, because people are people in God's eyes, and we're all the same. He used to say to me, you can go anywhere into a city in America, or anywhere in the world, and ask a white guy, and he didn't say any other, he didn't say anything about Hispanic, and ask a white guy to throw a jab, and half of them are going to turn backwards and throw it like a girl and everything. Ask any black man on a street corner in any city in the world, and they will snap out a jab in a heartbeat. And I used to laugh. He said they're just more physically gifted. And
You hear that? They're just more physically gifted. So this man, right, was mentioned when he was talking about boxing and talking about things of a physical nature, and he said, if you take a so-called white man, right, and he never mentioned, in this story that he's saying, he never mentioned nobody else, right? He never mentioned Asian, he never mentioned Mexican or nothing like that. He was comparing to a so-called white man, right? Comparing a so-called black man to a so-called white man. And he said if you take a so-called white man from anywhere around the world, they're going to not throw a punch a proper way. Some of them are going to lean back with it. Some of them are going to throw it like a girl, right? But if you take a so-called black man and make them throw a jab, they're going to be throwing it properly, man. They're just more naturally physically gifted. And I'm going to play it again. Let's hear it again.
And they will snap out a jab in a heartbeat. And I used to laugh. He said they're just more physically gifted. And he said, and so they have speed, and better to stay away from them.
Stay away from them, right? Don't try and go into nothing physically with them, because they're better than you. Right now, Esau's got the blessing of the sword, so he can overcome us with the sword. But in a straight up 1-to-1 physical nature, they lose, man. That's why the best fighters in 1-to-1 hand-to-hand combat are Israelites. I don't care what no one says. The best fighters in 1-to-1 combat are Israelites, man. They just are. If you go through the list of the top 10 boxers that have ever been the greatest of all time, I guarantee that all of them are Israelites. I guarantee. And some people might be able to go through the list and find a so-called white man in there. Really, he's an Israelite too. And let me get this scripture. This is Genesis chapter 25 and verse 23. And Yahweh said unto her, in fact, verse 22, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. So Rebecca had been wanting to have a child for a long time, right? And then she finally got one, and she was basically saying, if this is a blessing, then why are the children struggling together? Why am I in pain, right? And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other. All right? Israelites are naturally stronger than Edomites, man. It's just what it is. And the elder shall serve the younger. An Edomite is weaker than an Israelite, man. That's why if an Israelite's taking part in this particular sport, which is all about physicality, right? Once an Israelite starts really getting into that sport and really starts training in that, he's going to show that he's better than an Edomite in there. He's just going to show that. Like what a lot of people that like watching boxing right now don't realize is that at the early stages of boxing, there was a separation in it. There was the Israelite, there was the so-called black champions or whatever, and their own tournaments and stuff like that. And then there was their so-called white tournaments. And the Edomites used to try and lie and say, oh, well, the so-called black people are not able to get in it as strong as us, right? They're not able to compete with us on our level because they're not as good as us, right? And then when they started going against them, they started getting whooped, man. And then you had Jack Johnson, the first ever so-called black heavyweight champion. And then after that, I believe it was like Joe Louis and guys like that, man. And he used to beat the hell out of them Edomites too, man. And be toying around with them like how a cat smacks around a mouse, smacking them over the head, making them go an extra couple of rounds just to toy with them, man. And then finally knocking them out. And when he actually knocked out the Edomite to take that title, to win the title and become the first Israelite champion, they cut off the footage. So you can't even actually properly see, there's not actually any footage out there to properly see him win the title and claim it, man. The footage gets cut off before that. Right? But that just goes into how Esau tries to shut us down from all things because they know that we're better than them, man. They just know that, like, it's very frustrating if you're really trying to be better than somebody else, right? And they're not even trying. and they're better than you. And that's how Esau feels about us, man. That's how Esau feels about us. Like, he's trying his best, and this is the best Esau's ever been right now, right? He's built up, and this is his best state that he's ever been in, and he's still insecure when he's around an Israelite, man. If an Israelite's doing something, you'll always see an Edomite hating, man. You might be in a workplace, and an Israelite comes up with a good idea in the workplace, and it will be an Edomite that will be the first one to object. Oh, I don't really think that's a good idea. Nah. He'll be always trying to scrutinize and try and find something wrong with it, man. Or you might start a new job, everybody else is cool with you, right? And then an Edomite's going to be the first one to try and start something, man. I'll be trying to figure out a way to try and get you fired or something, man. Every time. Every time. This is Psalm chapter 83 and verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. They have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom. Right? So Esau is the first one mentioned because he's the main enemy. All these other nations are enemies too, but Esau is the main one, man. He's the main one. And in this image right here now, and I've remembered the guy's name. That's the owner of Top Rank now. This is him right here on the left. I was trying to remember his name while I was doing a video. His name is Bob Arum, and the guy on the left, and the guy on the right is Terence Crawford, who I believe is like either top 1 or top 2 pound for pound ranked boxers right now. And this Israelite on the right, he's removed himself from being promoted by this guy Bob Arum, man, just like how Floyd Mayweather did. Right? He's removed himself from being promoted by him. And if you want to watch this video, if you go on Dante's Boxing Nation, you'll find the video, man. Let me see if I can find the title to this. It says Canelo. So luck, yeah. The title is Canelo Alvarez trainer finally admits African American fighters, and I believe it says African American fighters are difficult to fight, man. All right, but that's the video, and that's the lesson, man. Like, these nations know that we're better than them, and it angers them so much in their spirit that we're better than them, man. And let me end it with this scripture, in fact, because I really like this scripture, and it fits very well with this lesson. This is Sirach chapter 10 and verse 30. The poor man is honored for his skill. All right, we're the poor men. When we show some talent in something, that's when we receive honor. So you have these Anthony Joshuas, these Floyd Mayweathers, these Canelo Alvarez, right, Oscar De La Hoya. You'll have all these fighters, all these musicians. We receive honor for the skill that we have, right? Carrying on in verse 30, and the rich man is honored for his riches. Esau is honored because he's rich. Whenever you see someone talking about Esau, no matter what scumbag activity he's doing, you always see them say, yeah, but he's rich though. Literally. You'll always hear them say that. You might talk about, it used to be Bill Gates. People would say something bad about Bill Gates, and then people would say, yeah, but he's rich though. Yeah, but he's getting money though. They wouldn't say, nah, he's a good person, nah, what his ideas are, he's good. They'd always say that he's rich. That's literally what people do. They receive honor for their riches, man. Verse 31, he that is honored in poverty, us the Israelites, we're honored in poverty. How much more in riches? So how much more people are going to be loving us and paying homage to us when we're doing the same things? Well, we're going to be doing better. Because if we're doing all of this, showing all this skill right now, you've got all these musicians and all these singers and stuff like that, singing all these songs, right? But imagine how righteous them songs that are going to be, that they're going to make when in the king, that are going to be made in the kingdom, when Israelites are praising God, when they're praising Yahweh in righteousness, and they're not being made to put little demonic drum snares and hits in the track. They're making proper music, praising Yahweh, making songs about the salvation that he gave to us. Imagine how much more better we're going to be in the kingdom. Verse 31 again, he that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? So how much more is Esau going to be hated when they're taken out of power? Because people don't even like them now. People don't even really like Esau now, man. So how much more when he's down bad and cast out of heaven, cast out of his heaven that he's made on earth right now for himself. And I'll end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.